Comanche, kəʻmæntʃiː, is a Uto-Aztecan language spoken by the Comanche people, who split off from the Shoshone soon after their quiet horses around 1705. The Comanche language and the Shoshone language are therefore quite similar, although certain consonant changes in Comanche have inhibited mutual intelligibility. The name Comanche comes from the Ute word kɨmantsi, meaning enemy, stranger. Their own name for the language is nʉmʉ tekwapʉ, which means language of the people. Use and revitalization efforts. Although efforts are now being made to ensure its survival, most speakers of the language are elderly. In the late 19th century, Comanche children were placed in boarding schools where they were discouraged from speaking the native language, and even severely punished for doing so. The second generation then grew up speaking English, because of the belief that it was better for them not to know Comanche. The Comanche language was briefly prominent during World War II. A group of 17 young men referred to as the Comanche code talkers were trained and used by the U.S. Army to send messages conveying sensitive information in the Comanche language so that it could not be deciphered by the enemy. As of July 2013, there are roughly 25 to 30 native speakers of the language, according to the Boston Globe. An online class is available from the Learn Comanche organization, and the Comanche Language and Cultural Preservation Committee offers dictionaries and language learning materials. Comanche language courses are also available at the Comanche Nation College. The college is conducting a language recording project, as the language is mostly oral, and emphasizing instruction for tribal members. Phonology Vowels. Comanche has a typical nʉmeric vowel inventory of 6 vowels. In addition, there is the common diphthong I. Historically, there was a certain amount of free variation between and, but the variation is no longer so common and most morphemes have become fixed on either I or E. In the following chart, the basic symbols given are in the IPA, whereas the equivalent symbols in the conventional orthography are given to the right of them, in parentheses and boldface. Note that Comanche also has voiceless vowels, but they are non-phonemic and therefore not represented in this chart. In the conventional orthography, these vowels are marked with an underline: A, E, I, O, U, U. Vowel length and voicing. Comanche distinguishes vowels by length. Vowels can be either long or short. Long vowels are never devoiced, and in the orthography they are represented as. An example of a long vowel is the in meaning turtle. Short vowels can be lengthened when they are stressed. Short vowels can be either voiced or voiceless. Unstressed short vowels are usually devoiced when per second or per hour follows, and optionally when word final. Consonants. Comanche has a typical nʉmeric consonant inventory. As with the vowel charts, the basic symbols given in this chart are in the IPA, whereas the equivalent symbols in the conventional orthography are given to the right of them in parentheses and boldface. Stress. Comanche stress most commonly falls on the first syllable. Exceptions to this rule, such as in the words wasazi, meaning Osage people, and ana, meaning ouch, are marked with an acute accent. For the purpose of stress placement, the diphthongs I, oi, and ui act as one vowel with one mora. Additionally, possessive pronouns, which serve as proclitics, do not affect the stress of a word. Secondary stress is placed on the second syllable of a two-syllable word, the third syllable of a word with 3, 4, or 5 syllables, and the fourth syllable of a word with 6 syllables. Primary stress. Primary stress is marked when it is non-initial stress. In addition, when a pronoun is suffixed by, for instance, a postposition, the pronoun does take primary and initial stress. Quote, an example is nipia, which means my mother. In the following data where primary stress appears, it will be shown as an acute accent. Quote, Primary stress is found in words or compounds of 3, 6 and 5 syllables. However, when primary stress is marked in a third syllable, it can also be considered as a secondary stress according to kə́mæntʃiः, but an exception to this case is when both a proclitic and prefix are used. An example of a third syllable stress is which means stopped and lay down. Words with 5 syllables have primary stress on the first syllable. An example is which means stress. Also, words with 6 syllables have primary stress on the first syllable. An example is which means rosts for. Non-initial stress. Non-initial stress can be found in any syllable of a word that is not in the initial position, and it can also fall on long vowel. Also, the initial syllable never weakens to the point of voicelessness. However, some exceptions to the non-initial stress are animal and plant names, because some of them end with a stress long vowel plus, which is represented by learns are common sources of words with non-atonal stress. An example is pētasi, which means policeman. A word with 2 stresses is anīkūta, which means and. Alternating stress. Alternating stress occurs when there are words with 3, 4, 5, and 6 syllables. In addition, alternating stress is given when nouns of compound are co-equal, a root of stem has 1 syllable suffix. Quote. Also, prefixes are not stem changes do not receive an initial stress because the alternating stress begins on the second syllable, as in the following word of 6 syllables, following the pattern of 5-syllable words. Quote. An example is which means when to cut down. An examples of alternating stress in a 4, 5, and 6 syllables are housefly, meaning louse, and which, meaning button. Examples of 3 syllables is waha equals 12, which means 2, ? single quote dot. Stress shift. Stress shift occurs when verbs often exhibit stylistic stress shift when occurring at the end of a breathing group. Quote. In addition, stress moves 1 syllable to the right if that syllable is voice, otherwise it skips over the voiceless vowels to the next syllable. An example is jumped. According to Chinese, stress shift is caused by a suffixes n which goes a rightward shift of stress in form with the shape cvh, cvs, cvhv. Examples of cvh, cv is Marty oh tekwa, and which means he hit him, and an example of cvhv is pahi n, which means he fell. By using the form cvh, cvs, cvhv, we can see that h is presented as a second or a precipitated consonant. However, stress does not shift rightwards when the verb root does not contain. An example is nʉmʉ, meaning they move. Phonological process is free variation. Although not often reflected in the orthography, certain sounds occur in free variation. For instance, J can be pronounced as a, and a labialized K can be voiced. In contemporary times, preaspiration and preglottalization may occur in free variation with a long vowel aka aka. Spirantization can occur in the phonemes p and t when they are preceded by vowels. P becomes the voiced bilabial fricative, usually written as ab, and t becomes the voiced alveolar tap, written as an r. An intervening para or does not block this spirantization process, as seen in turbare on the sun. In the past, there was a process of nasalization in Comanche which has since been lost and which blocked spirantization. Certain words that would otherwise exhibit spirantization in modern Comanche do not. Therefore, as a result of the historical presence of what would have been a preceding nasal metathesis, a fairly regular process of metathesis occurs sporadically with voiceless consonants and regularly with voiced consonants. It is accompanied by the the deletion of a vowel, otunu and gt, oruhu and gt, ohru. In modern Comanche, voiceless, unaspirated stops followed by a long I and an parawa may be realized as aspirated equivalents at the expense of the subsequent long vowel and pitsi paran gt, pitsipe. Preaspiration and preglottalization. Certain consonants undergo preaspiration word medially, namely n, and the voiceless, unaspirated stops p, t, and k. It is usually written with an h before the consonant, as in a cupboard or ekasapara soldier. Similarly, many of the same consonants can also undergo preglottalization, which is written with before the consonant, as in by creek, or tawo gun. Organic and inorganic devoicing. Each Comanche vowel has an allophonic voiceless equivalent. The devoicing process in Comanche follows a predictable pattern, and can be broken down into two categories, organic and inorganic. A vowel which proceeds an per second, or an per hour, undergoes induced organic devoicing, provided that the vowel is unstressed, short, and not part of a cluster. Two adjacent syllables cannot both have organic voiceless vowels. In such a situation, the second vowel does not devoice. The second type of devoicing that can occur in Comanche is inorganic devoicing. Short vowels that are not part of a cluster may be optionally devoiced at the end of a breath group, and this may apply even if the preceding vowel has undergone organic devoicing. Additionally, an inorganic, voiceless vowel conditions optional lengthening of a voiced penultimate vowel if there is no intervening pre-aspirated consonant. Morphology. Like many languages of the Americas, Comanche can be classified as a polysynthetic language. Nouns. Comanche nouns are inflected for case and number, and the language possesses a dual number. Like many Uto-Aztecan languages, nouns may take an absolutive suffix. Many cases are also marked using postpositions. Personal pronouns exist for 3 numbers and 3 persons. They have different forms depending on whether or not they are the subject or object of a verb, possessive, or the object of a postposition. Like many languages of the Americas, Comanche first-person plural pronouns have both inclusive and exclusive forms. The Comanche paradigm for nominal number suffixes is illustrated below. Notes: the objective and possessive forms differ only in the final feature. Fortis is applied at the end of the possessive suffixes. The two dual suffixes are not technically distinct and may be used interchangeably. However, the first of the two is preferred for humans. The absolutive suffix may be dropped before the addition of these suffixes. Verbs. Many of the verb stems regularly are suppletive. Intransitive verbs are suppletive for singular versus plural subject, and transitive verbs are suppletive for singular versus plural object. Verbs can take various affixes, including incorporated nouns before the stem. Most verb affixes are suffixes, except for voicing changing prefixes and instrumental prefixes. The verb stem can take a number of prefixes and suffixes. A sketch of all the elements that may be affixed to the verb is given on the right. In addition to verbal affixes, Comanche verbs can also be augmented by other verbs. Although in principle Comanche verbs may be freely combined with other verbs, in actuality only a handful of verbs, termed auxiliary verbs, are frequently combined with others. These forms take the full range of aspectual suffixes. Common auxiliary verbs in Comanche include hani, to do, make, naha, to be, become, mie, to go, and katu, ukwi, to sit. An example of how the verbs combine, katu, to sit, plus mie, to go, equals katu mia, to ride. Instrumental prefixes is mentioned above. Comanche has a rich repertoire of instrumental prefixes, and certain verbs cannot occur without an instrumental prefix. These prefixes can affect the transitivity of a verb. The Comanche instrumental prefixes are listed below. Ku equals with the teeth, chin, mouth. Ku equals with heat, fire. Ma equals with the hand, and as a generalized instrumental. Mu, muh equals with the nose, lips, front. Nih equals verbally. Pih equals with the buttocks, rear. Su equals with cold. Fortis is applied at the end of the prefix. Su equals with the foot in a violent motion. Su equals with the mind, mental activity. Fortis is applied at the end of the prefix. Ta equals with the foot. Toh equals with the hand, violent, a completed action. Tshah equals with the hand. Tsih equals with a sharp point with the finger. Sox equals with the head. Wuh equals an all-purpose instrumental. Syntax. Comanche parts of speech include nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, pronouns, and interjections, as well as particles. The word order is SOV, subject, object, verb. But while the standard word order in Comanche is SOV, it can shift in two specific circumstances. The topic of a sentence, though marked with one of two particles, is often placed at the beginning of the sentence, defying the standard word order. Furthermore, the subject of a sentence is often placed second in a sentence. When the subject is also the topic, as is often the case, it ends up in the first position, preserving SOV word order. Otherwise, the subject will be placed second. For example, the English sentence, "I hit the man," could be rendered in Comanche with the components in either of the following two orders. I, man, hit the standard SOV word order, or man, I hit an OSV word order, which accentuates the role of the man who was hit. Switch reference. Like other nʉmʉ languages, Comanche has switch reference markers to handle subordination. This refers to markers which indicate whether or not a subordinate verb has the same or different subject as the main verb, and in the case of Comanche, also the temporal relation between the two verbs, when the verb of a subordinate clause has a different subject from the verb of the main clause, and the time of the verbs is simultaneous. The subordinate verb is marked with ku, and its subject is marked as if it were an object. When the time of the verbs is not simultaneous, the subordinate verb is marked with one of several affixes depending on the duration of the subordinate verb and whether it refers to an action which occurred before the described by the main verb or one which occurred after. Writing system. The Comanche alphabet was developed by Dr. Alice Anderton, a linguistic anthropologist, and was adopted as the official Comanche alphabet by the Comanche Nation in 1994. The alphabet is as follows. Notes: long vowels are indicated by doubling the vowel a, e, u, u. Voiceless vowels are indicated by an underline a, e, i, o, u. When the stress does not fall on the first syllable of the word, it is marked with an acute accent cut, say ana, coyote. The glottal stop is sometimes written as. The phonemes ts and k are written as ts and kw, respectively. In popular culture, in the 1956 film The Searchers, starring John Wayne, there are several badly pronounced Comanche words interspersed, such as Noika and Timaway. In the 1963 film McClintock, also starring John Wayne, McClintock and Chief Puma speak Comanche several times throughout the film. In a 2013 Boston Globe article, linguist Todd McDaniels of Comanche Nation College commented on Johnny Depp's attempts to speak the Comanche language in the film The Lone Ranger, saying the words were that the pronunciation was shaky but adequate. Bibliography. Aja, Simon. Comanche. Omniglo, 1998 to 2013. Anderton, Alice. Kawosa plays a trick on a soldier, a Comanche Coyote story, in Jane Hill, P.J. Mystery, and Lyle Campbell, The Life of Language, Papers in Linguistics in honor of William Bright. Trends in Linguistics, Studies and Monographs, Berlin, Mouton de Gruyter, Armagist, James. Comanche Deictic Roots in Narrative Texts. Kansas Working Papers in Linguistics, 7-5-14, Armagist, James. The Temporal Relationship Between Telling and Happening in Comanche Narrative. Anthropological Linguistics, 24-193-200, Armagist, James. Comanche Narrative, Some General Remarks and a Selected Text. Kansas Working Papers in Linguistics. 8-1-30, Armagist, James. On Predicting Voiceless Vowels in Comanche. Kansas Working Papers in Linguistics. 10-1-15, Armagist, James. Comanche Ma. Undistinguished Deictic Narrative Obviative. International Journal of American Linguistics. 51, 302-310. DO 10.1086, 465,874. JSDO 1,265,433. Armagist, James. 3 Exceptions to Vowel Devoicing in Comanche. Anthropological Linguistics. 28-3. Armagist, James. Interpreting Street, Clare's Comanche Texts, Objective Case Marking and the Same Subject-Dependent Clauses. Kansas Working Papers in Linguistics. 15, 1-17, kəʻmæntʃiː, Voiceless Vowels in Comanche, International Journal of American Linguistics. 23, 63-67. DOI 10.1086, 464,394. JSDO 1,264,055. kəʻmæntʃiː, Comanche Texts, Summer Institute of Linguistics Publications in Linguistics and Related Fields. Norman, Oklahoma, Summer Institute of Linguistics of the University of Oklahoma. Casagrande, Joseph. Comanche Baby Language, International Journal of American Linguistics. 1411-14, DO 10.1086, 463,971. JSDO 1,263,088. Casagrande, Joseph B. Comanche Linguistic Acculturation. International Journal of American Linguistics. 20, 140-151. DO 10.1086, 464,267. JSDO 1,263,388. Casagrande, Joseph B. Comanche Linguistic Acculturation. 2. International Journal of American Linguistics. 20, 217-237. DO 10.1086, 464,281. JSDO 1,263,347. Casagrande, Joseph B. Comanche Linguistic Acculturation. 3. International Journal of American Linguistics. 21, 8-25. DO 10.1086, 464,304. JSDO 1,263,210. Charney, Jean Ormsby, 1993. A Grammar of Comanche, London, Lincoln, University of Nebraska Press. The Comanche Language and Cultural Preservation Committee, October 22, 2005. Hamp, Eric. Prosodic Notes on Comanche Voiceless Vowels. International Journal of American Linguistics. 24, 321–322. DOI 10.1086 464481. JSDOI 1263980. Osborne, Henry, Smalley, William. Formulae for Comanche Stem and Word Formation. International Journal of American Linguistics. 15, 93–99. DOI 10.1086 464027. Refhon, Manuel Garcia, Comanche Vocabulary. Jello, Daniel J. Texas Archaeology and Ethnohistory Series. Austin, University of Texas Press. Robinson, Leela Wistrand, Armagist, James. Comanche Dictionary and Grammar. Publications in Linguistics. Dallas, Texas. The Summer Institute of Linguistics and the University of Texas at Arlington. Smalley, William. Phonemic Rhythm in Comanche. International Journal of American Linguistics. 19, 297–301. DOI 10.1086 464236. Troicki, Rudolph C. Comanche Linguistic Acculturation. A Critique. International Journal of American Linguistics. 22, 213–215. DOI 10.1086 464370.